You know that feeling when your whole life shifts in a single second? It's like the floor disappears beneath you, and suddenly you're just falling. That's what happened to me on a rainy Tuesday morning in late March. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sipping lukewarm coffee, watching the rain slide down the window. My plan for the day was simple: fold laundry, run errands, maybe make lasagna for dinner. Then there was a knock at the door. Not a polite tap, but a sharp, deliberate knock. When I opened it, a man in a navy raincoat was standing there, holding a thick envelope. "Mrs. Daniels?" he asked, his voice formal. "Yes?" He handed it to me without another word, turned, and walked back to a black car waiting at the curb. The envelope was heavy. My name was printed neatly in the center, and in the top left corner, it read, Mason and Hartman Family Law. I knew Mason and Hartman. They were divorce lawyers. My heart skipped a beat. My hands went cold. I tore it open right there in the hallway. Inside, the first page read, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage Jason Daniels vs. Emily Daniels. Jason, my husband, the man I'd shared the last 12 years of my life with. No warning. No fights that morning. No we need to talk. Just papers. Served to my own front door. At first, I thought it had to be some kind of mistake. Wed had rough patches, sure, what couple hasn't? But we were fine. We still watched our favorite shows together, we still laughed sometimes. And yet, as I stood there staring at those papers, I realized something chilling. Jason had been planning this. Quietly. Carefully. And I had been too blind to see it. When he came home that night, I was ready. Or at least, I thought I was. I put the papers right in the middle of the kitchen counter. He walked in, shook the rain from his jacket, and froze when he saw them. His eyes flicked from the papers to my face. And then he smiled. Not the sheepish, caught-off-guard smile you'd expect. But something colder. I see you've been served, he said simply, as if we were discussing the weather. Jason, what is this? My voice cracked. It's exactly what it looks like, Emily. He poured himself a glass of water, leaning casually against the counter like we weren't talking about the end of our marriage. I wanted answers, but all he gave me were vague, cutting remarks. We've grown apart. This is for the best. You'll thank me later. But then he said something that didn't fit. I've taken care of everything. You won't have to worry about a thing if you cooperate. If I cooperate? With what? I asked him, but he just smirked and said, You'll find out soon enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was spinning. Why the sudden divorce? Why the secrecy? And what exactly was I supposed to cooperate with? The next day, I decided I wasn't going to just sit and wait for answers. I started digging. I went through our shared bank account, something I hadn't done in months because Jason always handled the bills. That's when I saw it. 3 large withdrawals in the past 2 weeks. Each for exactly $9,500. And all made in cash. When I confronted him, he brushed it off. Said it was business expenses. But Jason doesn't own a business. The more I looked, the stranger things got. Had changed the password on his laptop. There were long calls on his phone bill to a number I didn't recognize. And 2 weeks ago, had suddenly insisted I stop going to his office to bring him lunch because it was distracting. Something was happening. Something big. And I was no longer just a wife in the middle of a divorce, I was a woman in the middle of a mystery. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened on the 3rd day after I was served. Because that's when I saw her. A woman, maybe in her late 20s, standing across the street from my house in the rain, holding a small black notebook. She wasn't dressed like a friend of Jason's. She looked serious. Almost like a reporter. When I stepped outside to ask who she was, she turned and walked away quickly. But not before I saw the cover of her notebook. It had my name on it. Emily Daniels. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about divorce. Someone was watching me. And I had no idea why. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman's face, pale, expressionless, with rain dripping from her hair, and the black notebook with my name written across the cover. By sunrise, I'd decided two things. 1. I was going to find out who she was. 2. I wasn't going to tell Jason. The next morning, I parked my car 2 streets over from my own house and waited. If she was watching me, I wanted to watch her first. Sure enough, at 9:17 a.m., the same woman appeared again. This time she stood at the corner, pretending to scroll through her phone. I walked toward her casually, my heart pounding. "Excuse me," I said, "do I know you?" She glanced up, startled. Then, without a word, she turned and started walking away fast. "Wait," I called. "Why do you have my name written down?" She didn't answer. But as she crossed the street, a taxi pulled up and she jumped inside. And just like that she was gone. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? "Hi, there's a stranger writing my name in a notebook?" They'd probably tell me to stop watching crime documentaries. So I decided to investigate on my own. Later that afternoon, while Jason was at work, I dug through his home office. I knew he'd changed the password on his laptop, but maybe he'd left something physical behind. In the bottom drawer of his desk, under a stack of old tax returns, I found a plain white envelope with no markings. Inside was a bank statement. From a bank I'd never heard of. And the account wasn't under Jason's name. It was under mine. I stared at it in shock. The account had been opened 6 months ago, with a deposit of $75,000. Then another $20,000 a month later. And the most recent balance? $162,000. I had never opened this account. I had never even heard of this bank. When Jason came home, I tried to act normal. But my mind was racing. Why would he open a bank account in my name and put that much money into it? And why did I have the sinking feeling that it wasn't meant for me to spend but for me to take the blame for? That night, I hid the bank statement under my pillow. At 2 a.m., I heard Jason get out of bed and go to the kitchen. Something told me to follow quietly. I found him on the phone, whispering, "No, she doesn't know. Yes, the papers are signed. Just make sure it's done by Friday." Friday. What was happening Friday? The next day, I got my answer. Or at least part of it. I received a letter in the mail, addressed to Emily Daniels, from the Internal Revenue Service. It was a notice about an investigation into suspicious financial activity in connection with the exact bank account it just found. My hands went cold. Jason was setting me up. And I didn't know how to prove it, not yet. That evening, as I stood in the kitchen staring at the letter, the doorbell rang again. When I opened it, it was her, the woman with the notebook. But this time, she spoke first. "My name is Claire," she said. "And I think your husband is trying to destroy you." For a moment, I just stood there in the doorway, gripping the frame like it might keep me upright. The woman, Claire, looked exhausted, her dark hair damp from the drizzle outside. "Can I come in?" she asked. Her voice was low, urgent. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to trust strangers, but something in her eyes wasn't threatening. It was desperate. I stepped aside. She walked in, glanced around like she was checking for hidden cameras, then lowered her voice even further. "Emily, I've been trying to get to you for weeks. But your husband, he's dangerous." I blinked. "Dangerous? Jason?" "No, but then I stopped myself. Because I'd seen too much in the past few days to keep pretending." Claire pulled the black notebook from her bag and placed it on my coffee table. "I am a private investigator," she said. "A client hired me to follow Jason 3 months ago." "Who's the client?" I asked. She shook her head. I can't give you their name, confidentiality. But what I can tell you is this. Jason has been moving large amounts of money through accounts in your name. Offshore accounts. The one you found? That's just the beginning. I felt my stomach twist. Why would he put them in my name? Claire met my eyes. So when the investigation comes, and it's coming, you'll be the one in handcuffs, not him. I sank into the couch. The letter from the IRS flashed in my mind. Friday. The whispered phone call. Do you know what's happening Friday? I asked. She nodded grimly. Yes. He's transferring the last sum, closing the accounts and disappearing. I believe he's leaving the country. I shook my head in disbelief. No, he wouldn't just leave. Claire opened her notebook, flipping to a page filled with photographs. There was Jason, stepping out of a luxury car he'd never seen, shaking hands with a man in a dark suit. Jason at a bank, holding documents. Jason at a hotel, meeting a woman I didn't recognize. My chest tightened. Who is she? Claire's jaw tightened. I don't know her name. But she's been with him almost every time I've seen him in the past month. The betrayal cut deep, but anger pushed through faster than tears. Okay, I said, sitting straighter. If you're telling me the truth, then we have 3 days to stop him. Claire nodded. We do. But we have to be careful. If he suspects he'll accelerate his plan. Over the next 2 days, we worked quietly. Claire helped me copy documents from Jason's office when he was out. She showed me how to back up his emails and trace phone calls. Every time I found something, it made my skin crawl because it was all connected. There were shell companies in the Cayman Islands, fake invoices, wire transfers labeled as consulting fees. And all of them led back to me. By Thursday night, we had enough evidence to make the IRS letter look like a postcard. The question was, who to give it to? If we went to the police, Jason might still vanish before they acted. If we went to the IRS, the process could take months. Claire suggested something else. We get him to confess, she said. On record. Something they can't ignore. So we set a trap. I invited Jason to dinner Friday night, told him I wanted to talk things over before signing the divorce settlement. I cooked his favorite meal, poured his favorite wine, and smiled like nothing was wrong. Under the table, my phone was recording. Claire was parked across the street, ready to come in if things went bad. Jason arrived looking relaxed, almost smug. He talked about moving on and starting fresh, never noticing my hands trembling as I poured the wine. Then, halfway through the meal, I said, Jason, I know about the account in my name. And the others. His fork froze mid-air. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then he set it down slowly and smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that reached his eyes. Emily, he said softly, you have no idea how far over your head you are. I forced my voice to stay calm. Then explain it to me. And that's when he started talking. About the money. About the offshore accounts. About the deals that weren't exactly legal. And about how, in 3 days, he'd be sitting in an interrogation room while he was on a beach halfway around the world. Every word was being recorded. I should have felt victorious. But just as I was about to wrap things up, Jason leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine, and whispered something that made my blood run cold. You think you're the only one being set up, Emily? He said. Claire isn't who you think she is. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. But Jason's eyes told me otherwise. What do you mean, Claire isn't who I think she is? I asked. He leaned back in his chair, sipping his wine like we were discussing the weather. She's not just some concerned investigator, Emily. She was hired, but not by anyone trying to protect you. She works for one of the men I was doing business with. And trust me, those people don't hire anyone without a very good reason. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. You're lying. Jason shrugged. You think so? Ask her how she really knew where to find you. Ask her who's been following you long before you even got those divorce papers. I didn't answer. I just excused myself, went to the kitchen, and texted Claire under the table, come in now. 30 seconds later, there was a knock. I opened the door, and there she was, her face pale, her eyes darting past me to Jason. He smiled at her. Claire. Or should I say Clara Vance? That's your real name, isn't it? She stiffened. We're not doing this, Jason. Oh, we are, he said. Tell her who you work for. Tell her why you've been so eager to help. I looked between them, my stomach twisting. Claire's jaw clenched. I started working for them because I didn't have a choice, she said finally. They wanted me to watch him. But then I saw what he was doing to you. And I decided I wasn't going to let it happen. Jason laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. See, Emily? You're just a project to her. Another job. I felt dizzy. Everything I thought I knew in the last 3 days was crumbling. But then Claire stepped forward and put something on the table, a small flash drive. Everything's on here, she said to me. His confession tonight, plus everything I've gathered. You can walk into the FBI tomorrow morning and end this. Jason's eyes narrowed. You hand that over, and you're dead, Claire. You know that. Claire didn't flinch. Maybe. But you're done, Jason. The tension was suffocating. Jason stood, stepping toward me. Emily, listen to me, if you give them that drive, you'll go down too. Your name is all over those accounts. You'll be wearing an orange jumpsuit before you even see a lawyer. Claire cut in. That's why I've got proof you had nothing to do with it. I've been building that case from the start. He can't touch you if you have this. 2 voices. 2 versions of the truth. And I had no idea which one was lying. Then Jason made his last move. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a second flash drive, identical to Claire's. Mine has the real story, he said. You take this, and you and I walk away clean. No prison. No trials. We disappear, and you never see Claire again. I stared at both drives. 2 choices. 1 chance. In that moment, something in me hardened. I took Claire's drive, put it in my pocket, and without saying a word, walked past them both and out the front door. I didn't stop until I was in my car, engine running, hands shaking. I drove straight to the nearest FBI field office. The fallout was fast. Jason was arrested within 48 hours. Claire vanished, no calls, no goodbyes. And the FBI confirmed what it feared. There was enough in those accounts to implicate me if not for the evidence Claire had provided to clear my name. It should have been the end. But 3 weeks later, I received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was the second flash drive, Jason's. And a note. Now you know everything. Decide carefully who you tell. I plugged it in. What I saw made me realize Jason was right about one thing. I wasn't the only one had set up. And the name on the very first document was Claire's.